St. Louis. And joining me now to talk about this, the former mayor of Bogota, New Jersey, also a former Senate candidate from New Jersey, Steve Lonegan, joining us on phone. Steve, it's great to be with you.
John, thanks for having me, and I'm sorry I got stuck in traffic.
Well, it happens. You're in New York. You're stuck in traffic. People, I'm sure, can empathize with you. Yes, I know, shocking. But we're glad we have you. We can still talk to you over the phone. Now, Attorney General Eric Holder, he is saying that the civil rights case is still going to move forward. But we've heard from Alan Dershowitz and a former federal prosecutor saying today that based on this grand jury report, that the federal government has no civil rights case. What's your take?
I would agree. I mean, look, the prosecutor did a phenomenal job last night at his press conference of laying out the methods by which the grand jury followed the rules, went through the evidence in careful detail. And, you know, I'm sort of familiar with this kind of thing as a mayor. Back in the 90s, we had a similar incident in the borough of Teaneck, right next door to my town, in which a police officer shot a young black man and created in all kinds of social upheaval and rioting. And just like you're seeing, not quite as bad, but by the way, the common thread that connects the two is Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton was part of that event 20 years ago as well, being as equally incendiary. So this threat to bring a civil rights lawsuit when the grand jury has done what appears to be a meticulous and superb job just is going to create further chaos instead of bringing this to rest. But, you know, I think my big question, you know, as a mayor, is you look for other sources, the governor, the president, to come in and help bring peace ahead of time. Where was President Obama? Where was Michelle Obama, who's well respected within that community? Why wasn't she there days ago, weeks ago, laying the groundwork for peace and explaining how the law works and that we need to accept, you know, the procedure because it was done properly? I think that's what a lot of Americans should. And
so, Steve, you feel like Michelle Obama, in particular in this case, could have done a lot to prevent what we saw last night?
I think Michelle Obama could have prevented the whole thing. I think if Michelle Obama spent as much time as this as she is worried about what kids are eating in cafeterias or how much water we're drinking, had she been out to Ferguson days ago, met with community leaders and said, look, we're all in this together. We're one country. We have a procedure. The procedure is being followed. We need to accept it, and we need to look within ourselves to see how we're going to deal with this going forward. Where was she? She was nowhere. Well, but yet they sent the White House sent representatives to the funeral, you know, of Michael Ferguson. I don't get where they were when this issue was erupting.
Well, I think even Michael Brown's parents would agree here that this has become less about Michael Brown and more about the current state of race relations between police officers and their community. I want to take a listen to a soundbite we have from Missouri State Senator Maria Nadal and what she said about the St. Louis suburb following the shooting. Let's take a listen.
And I have to tell you, this is St. Louis's race war. We didn't have a race war like other cities throughout the country. This is our race war. And people have to be open, and they have to be honest, and they have to be earnest. And they have not been earnest for decades.
What do you think about that characterization of this? I mean, it appears that way, but is this a full-blown race war playing out in Ferguson and St. Louis?
And this is a community leader. You know, one of the things you need to ask from all the leadership of Ferguson and St. Louis is, why aren't you stepping up to the plate early? It's almost as if they're pushing this issue. Like, for some reason, they think that this race war is cathartic.
Well, clearly that is clear. I don't know. I'm not going to say that about the woman we just heard from, Ms. Nadal, but clearly that is what some people want to see here, is see this issue pushed. But I also want to talk to you too, Steve, because you've been a mayor, you've been an executive of a community, and we had these reports that the governor was going to activate the National Guard. Everybody was on standby to prevent what we saw last night. Were you surprised that even though there was this increase, there was the promotion of this publicly, that we still saw these violent protests play out last night?
Yes, as a mayor, you don't direct the police how to do their jobs because the police chief, as the officers, are expert, but you make sure they have the resources they need. You make sure that they're backed up, that they have everything they have at their fingertips to be as effective as possible. Why they didn't mobilize more troops, I mean, this is predictable. I don't think anybody's surprised at what we've seen, the fires and the burning. More could have been done to make sure that those stores were boarded up. You saw last night
yeah, and you know, and we're going to have to say goodbye now because we're out of time, Steve. But that really is one of the other tragedies. No lives lost last night, but perhaps the death of a community with a lot of those business. I can't understand why any business owner would want to go back to a place where the community burned my place of business. But we'll have to say goodbye for now. Steve Lonegan, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
And we heard that last night from Captain Ron Johnson from the Missouri Highway Patrol saying that there's been damage done to that community take a long time to recover from that. More ahead here on America's Forum. We're back with a look back at rock's golden age.